How did you start that engagement with the creators? You had, you're talking about, Engage Karma Cut, Big Fry, and Tacti Gamer, and a couple others. Once you got them in, what was that next step to get the mass in?
I did the reaching out a lot of that myself in the beginning. So a lot of it was just spending that extra time, seeing people who might be interested in the space. But I got to be honest too, when I really credit someone like Karma when I'm talking to him and asking him if he knows other people that might be interested, and then he would just start sending creators my way, and then I would, Mara wanted to do a roundtable discussion, and I was like, yeah, that's a great idea, and I'm like, 25, 50 tactical players. He's like, no, probably like 100. Then we decided to really open it up, and then we invited like, hey, bring a friend.
Yep.
So the creators got to bring a friend. So then that's how it started spreading.
Welcome to Tardux, a podcast for content creators to come on and share their stories, experiences, and advice. And today I'm super excited. From Madfinger Games, I have Rick Lagnese.
Lagnese, close enough.
All right, there we go. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and hopefully you got a little bit of rest.
Yeah, a little bit. We're okay though,
Excellent.
Still taking showers, I guess. That's good.
Yeah. All right. So the way we start off the pod, we do 3 random questions. So are you ready?
Ready? Let's do it.
All right. Best thing about where you live?
Best thing about where I live is the privacy and that I live more in the countryside of New York.
All right.
I like the acreage we have and the farm type setup. Yeah.
All right. Favorite movie?
Maybe The Patriot. No, not The Patriot. That's one of them. Maybe Braveheart might be.
Yep. Yeah, Patriot was a good one too.
Really good.
All right. So recently you were over in the Czech Republic. What was the most interesting meal you had when you were there?
Oh my goodness, it's going to sound blasphemous because I actually really like the Indian food restaurant we were getting. Like, okay, the big thing over there is dumplings. They have all sorts of different types of dumplings. So you always got to have at least a little bit of the dumplings from Czech Republic. They're certainly not like they are in the U.S.
All right.
I did have Schnitzel. Oh my goodness, that's more German though.
Yeah.
Right. We still got that, and otherwise, there's where the office is. There are restaurants that you can just walk to, and there's like a cafeteria, and you just they have a little bit of they're very like soupy meals. They like the soupy, like just soups.
Yeah.
Like lots of like liquid. Like I love having stuff like sauces and stuff like that, and they kind of have it nice like that as well, like mushy.
Yeah,
I actually personally like that. So
okay.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Well, hey, welcome to the podcast. And, great job with the launch, the announcement, and everything like that. Did you think it was going to go as well as it did?
I always try to stay optimistic and positive. I believe that you have to have faith and belief in what you do. Otherwise, what the heck are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
Definitely. You never want to be a naysayer about what you're doing. You got to believe in what you're doing. So I knew we were going to do well. I did not think we would get, honestly, right now we're over 700,000 copies sold, and over 300,000 of those are editions, upgraded editions. So that exceeded even my own expectations, and I always had very high expectations, and so I'm very, very grateful. We're very grateful.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. So, before jumping into the game, so what is your background?
My background, well, it depends on how far we're going to go back, but I was always the guy that always felt out of place. I was, especially in the baby boomer generation, you have the families that college, don't be like us, don't do what we did, just do the opposite, right? Which means they don't want to see you work in factories, in warehouses, because that's what all the parents were doing, and they were, just like trick all about overtime, get working as many hours as you can. In the meantime, families suffer because of lack of time with the children, right? And what I saw is after my families went through hardship and stuff, I kept finding myself doing the opposite of what they told me. I was a happy, proud dropout of college. Wish I would have dropped out sooner, not even made a full semester, because when you feel out of place, you either have to adapt or you need to move on. You have to know how to adapt if you have a purpose and passion in that. So I wasn't trying to avoid hardship, because actually going there, it wasn't. If I would have just stayed focused and disciplined, I could have gotten, better grades. I was like a C+ guy,
Yeah.
C guy. Then I stopped. I was missing classes, and I found I didn't even know that I was actually really good at sales naturally, because I naturally like working with people. And from there, I started learning more of like managing people and working at car washes and working in all sorts of like selling. I was athletic equipment and gear, to marketing, to PR, to then like putting this all into the gaming industry and living out my lifehood dream, which was to find a way into the industry. And I did that through one tweet.
Wow.
8-9 years ago. You
One
call it lucky,
tweet?
whatever you want, but I'm trying to make it really short, because
Yeah.
it depends on what you want me to talk about, because like there is a big story behind it. But
Yeah.
I just love that I'm able to be in this industry. I'm very fortunate, and you have to have that belief that you can do it.
Yeah.
Because once you have that belief, you can do anything. You got to stick to it. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, this is your podcast. We can go down any rabbit hole you want. There, the rules are, it's your rules. So, that's the rules.
Well, I'm called like Mr. Rabbit Hole, so I can definitely go down any rabbit hole you want.
All
But
right. So let's start then with video game memories. What, where did video gaming start for you?
when I was, I don't know how old I was, 5 or 6 maybe, and I had the Atari put in front of me. I don't think it was pole position. That was maybe the second one. The first game was the Donkey Kong Mario, And I was like, then what is this? This is incredible. And I played a ton of that. I played a ton of the pole position. Then I was playing like that pie fighting game.
Yeah.
Had hundreds of levels. Like I used to be really good at games. And I'm like, whenever I play those moments trying to relive them, I'm like, what? Dang. And how was I so much better back then? But it was that to then, getting the Nintendo. And back then there was the old school console wars between Nintendo and Sega.
Yep.
But we didn't, there was no social media, so
Right.
that's all wasted drama.
Yep.
Console wasted drama. And so all we did is like, hey, okay, for my cousins, we played the Nintendo when they came over, and we went over their house and we played on Sega.
Right.
So played the wrestling games, the competitive games, Street Fighter. Remember my brother and I working at my grandfather's liquor store to pay to get Super Street Fighter for the 64. That was when games back then were, I think it was $65.
Yep.
For that game. And we would have kids come over from the neighborhood. Then we'd go out and play guns outside for hours. And now, isn't it funny saying playing guns sounds
I know.
offensive?
Yep.
Get a life, people. When we did that, it was like boom, boom, faking stuff. Like it was all fun, and like we had so much fun back then.
Yep.
And the video games were cool. They brought more of the community together, but it was just a taste of it. So the video game moments led to meeting more friends, and then we played all sorts of sports outside, and those were some good days, good times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was just today it seems it's lost on kids. Kids are, if you're an athlete, that's your one athlete. No, the days of like just the neighborhood getting together and all right, this morning we're gonna play some baseball. This afternoon we're gonna play some road hockey. It's just those days are gone. It seems.
It's because of fear and complacency.
Yeah,
it's because parents are trying to do the right thing by protecting their children, but by doing that, they're causing just as much harm because they're sheltering them.
Yeah,
and that's the big problem today is people are just afraid, so they stay inside. And they keep that TV screen on 24/7, and it's not doing anybody any good.
Nope. Like the days.
We are talking about games, but
but that's society. The days of like your mom saying, "Hey, be home by the time the streetlights come on." All right, they had no idea where we were. We're on our bikes everywhere. We did everything,
bikes
but
everywhere.
Yeah, it was just those are good times.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So now from a gaming standpoint, from a getting into the industry. You said one tweet was the one that really got you into it. What was your first jump into the gaming industry?
Okay. So the first jump I would say was when I worked at an indirect company for Verizon Wireless. We used to get reps that would come in from, for example, when we were selling Windows phones. So we had a Microsoft rep who came in and he gave us a website we could go to called Microsoft. It was Microsoft Expert Zone. And so if there's anything Windows in that realm or Xbox related, you then could be like a member and you could like take surveys and stuff like that to get discounted games, which I thought was cool, me working at this Verizon company. But there was this contest, and the first 300 people to fill out this form would then be able to invite a friend, to the Microsoft Xbox press conference when E3 was a thing. And I was one of them, and I invited one of my colleagues. And we just knew it. Like, it was crazy. I literally borrowed money from my friend. My wife let me do this. And then I paid him back the next month just to get to E3.
Yeah.
And listen, I won't sugarcoat. I will be honest. We faked it till we made it. I was determined to go to E3. We didn't even have any E3 passes the first day. I'm not going to lie. We got in. We did. It's the truth.
Yeah.
We got in. We talked to one of the guards. Got in. This is like heaven on earth to us. The next day, we literally won tickets for the rest of E3.
Oh, shoot.
It was crazy. So we started just meeting people. I met some really great folks at Microsoft. To this day, I don't think I'd be in the industry if it wasn't even for their support. And really humble guys and gals. And every year, I found ways to go to E3, even though I wasn't in the industry. I'll be honest. Yes, I was somebody who would find tickets being sold on Craigslist. I was that guy.
Yeah.
Like it or not, that's how it went. And then when I was already going, and I'd always have a crew with me, Warhorse Studios puts out a tweet, and they ask if anybody, who's going to E3 or is going to be in that area, they needed help setting up a party that they wanted to show off their game, which was in the alpha stages then, before the beta. And I was the first one to respond and said, I'll do it.
Oh, shoot.
You know, I never even had been to a pub. I don't, like, when I was younger, that was the thing. You go with your parents and they take you to the bars. That was just how it was at my age. And so I'm not like, I don't care. I just don't drink and stuff, but I'm like, I'll do it. I'll make it happen. I got in touch with a guy. It helped us with audio equipment. We set up the party. They loved it. And the PR manager after this party, fast forwarding, he said he wants to find a way. They want to find a way for me to work with them. And they wanted me to move to the Czech Republic, but to move a family just,
right.
We didn't want to do it. And then they finally let us work remotely. But it was like all this, like, in between my breaks at Verizon, the cell phone gig,
yeah,
I would talk to them on Skype. So I would build up that relationship with them. And it was literally just over a tweet. And that's what I'm saying. I believe, like, in laws of attraction. If you want to go get something, you go get it. If you play the victim role, why me? I don't have things never go my way, then they won't ever go your way.
Right, yeah.
You got to fight through all that nonsense. You know.
And what a coincidence, you know, the Czech Republic gaming dev here, and here you are now with Madfinger Games, which are based out of Czech Republic.
Yes. You know, I'm very thankful to my Warhorse crew. I had a good 4-year run, I believe. I kept saying 3 years when I talked to people. I believe it was 4 because I was with them all the way through the beta to the last DLC.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And so when I reached out to Marek, it was from LinkedIn. I really was interested in working on a tactical shooter game. I love tactical shooters. Truth be told, I don't play like I used to. In fact, I am the most unreliable person when it comes to playing online, you know, because the extra time, I am not a superhero. I'm not the best guy on the planet. I'm just saying that I realized I had to put that time into my family because I used to just put it into playing with the guys late. And I got a little irresponsible with it. But I wanted to work on a tactical game. And I'm like, this seems right down my alley. Ghost Recon is my favorite tactical series of all time. I say that all the time. I love the old Rainbow Six games, Vegas 1 and 2. Oh my goodness, and so on and so forth. The old school Far Cries, all that. So Marek, of course, gets in touch with Warhorse, and they very much gave me a very strong push.
Oh, nice.
And I saw that it was Czech Republic as well. And you know what? I'm very blessed and fortunate to be working for another Czech company, and I love working from the ground up. It's a lot of work, but I love starting from scratch and building something.
Now, how did Gray Zone get on your radar? Was it like, how long ago was this?
They weren't shy about talking that they're working on a tactical shooter.
Yeah.
So it was probably 2 or 3 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
When they first started even talking about it. And they've only been working on the game. I mean, I would even technically say like they had the concept, but working on it for less than 2 years now.
Yeah.
That's it. And so they weren't shy about it. They just, no one knew the name of the game, of course.
Yeah.
It was still kind of quiet. But and not many people, no one knew Madfinger Games if you didn't play any of their mobile games, right? But if they had it on their website. They were working on something. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how I got to. I saw a post I think one day on LinkedIn, and that's what piqued my interest, my
Yeah.
attention.
And now what's unique about Madfinger Games that just, you've been there, you enjoy it? Is it the team?
Yep.
Is it the, the game? What's the hook for you?
Yeah, I've been on a couple podcasts actually recently. This is a week of podcasts. I love these, by the way. And one of the things I said, and this is the number one thing that I like about what I'm doing, is the team.
Yeah.
The team is more important than the game. The team is more important than the community. It's more important than anything. I would say the same thing with if I have friends and whatnot. I can only be a good friend if I'm good to my family. If I'm not good to my family, it's going to trickle down into everybody I walk into and run into. Right?
Yeah.
Starts with the family. If we don't have a healthy team, it's gonna ultimately be our own demise, right? So we check our egos out the door. No one's perfect. You're working 15 to 20-hour days at the studio, which we were, and sometimes you're going to get into a little bit of a tussle here and there, maybe. Not like it's some super big deal, but we're exhausted, and anything that doesn't go like according to plan, there can be friction. But that's what if you don't have friction, you're not doing something right. Because if you're close with somebody, you're going to have friction at times. It's how you deal with that friction, just like family. So it's the team. It's not even close, and we have direct access to everybody.
Nice.
It's a wonderful thing.
Excellent. And now, what's your role there?
First when I started, my title was head of community, but that changed very fast because I knew we needed someone to take the reins of PR. And honestly, Mara let me take the bull by the horns. So I quickly changed the position myself into PR and comms director, because now we have 3 community managers that are on the front lines, and I am as well. But I love building the relations. I love that, working on partnerships, working closely with creators, with press to get the word out. Yeah. And in so doing, we try and create places for them where we can communicate, and it's constant. This because I send you emails, right? But with the creators, I send them emails. We make the announcement in Discord, and I'm actually pinging them because they'll be like, Rick, I don't check the email. I can't keep up with Discord, so thank you for pinging me. So like I keep very close in touch with creators, press, working on some stuff that one of them is kind of going to be a little bit of a surprise, I think. Not like trying to overhype something, but we'll have something a little fun that we're working on.
Nice.
It's not even necessarily like in game, but it's something just kind of cool with a partnership. I had a call with Cole Irvin, left-handed pitcher in the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing some fun stuff. That's what I love doing. And I love being at the studio, getting to work with the team. But yeah, I handle the PR and comms.
Okay. And now taking a step back, what is the experience of the team? Like Marek and the other folks, where you said they've developed mobile games. This is their first foray into a PC FPS game. Sort of how did it all come together?
So you have folks that came over from like Bohemia Interactive. You have people that, in fact, our co-founder, who's in charge of audio and whatnot. He was also like the lead audio designer for Viet Con back in the day.
Oh shoot!
So yeah, plus that's not to mention guys who worked on Arma or even the old Mafia games. So we have some young guns in there, and we have some veterans alike. And we're just Mara at first, and I say Mara just because that's his nickname, but because there's another Marek Monday. He's a designer.
Oh, okay,
that's great work. And originally, Gray Zone Warfare was going to be a mobile game, which it would never have worked out. It would have been terrible for a mobile game.
Right.
Just being honest, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
So he always wanted to make a game like this. All the mobile games are a thing of the past. There's no rights owned there, and it's a tough business to be in. So Mara and co-founder Tomas they decided to go all in. Like they put all their chips in. They either sink or swim.
Yeah.
And happy to say that we're swimming, and happy to say that we have a lot of works to make the game a better experience for everyone in the works, a patch and stuff like that. But yeah, it just all came together through them wanting to do a game like this at this capacity.
Yeah.
And they've been very inspired by all sorts of shooters, all sorts of tactical shooters. And they love the sandbox element, and they wanted to do something like on the MMO side. And so there's a lot of inspiration to make, but ultimately to make Gray Zone Warfare its own game, a more approachable game. And they wanted it to be more where people of all sorts of the tactical genre would like this, including Funny, I hear a lot of dads, they say, this is a game for dads. Because it's like it's kind of hard to get into some games that you better be willing to get your butt kicked, which I'm all for that, by the way. I'm a glutton for punishment. I
Yep.
love Souls games, but this is more of an approachable game. So that's something else they wanted to do, is have it where they can bring more people from the tactical genre, still keeping it as hardcore and tactical, but making it a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, that's a great Yeah, and that's a great approach, because like all of us, I've talked to many people about this, that are north of 40, who've been gaming forever. Gaming when it was you whispered when people found out you were gaming, because it just had such a bad rep. And now we're all old. We got kids. We don't have those big windows to game 8 hours. So we have snippets where we can hop into a game. So yeah, to have a tactical shooter that we can play without having to dump thousands of hours is great.
Yeah, and I think what we like is that, yes, the game is more PvE focused, and so we went hard on the quests. There's 150 quests, give or take, based on your choices you make. Excuse me, and it's the average person to complete all these tasks in the game is going to be anywhere from 80 to 120 hours.
Yeah,
unless they're using guides or something.
Yeah. So. And now, taking a step back, how would you describe Gray Zone Warfare?
How would I describe it?
Yeah.
Gray Zone Warfare is a tactical FPS, open world, and persistent world where you can enjoy Lamang Island with no time limit, where you can respawn and get back into the action, where you can play and squat up with your friends, enjoy the nice rides on the Little Bird, and know that every move matters. You never know when another faction is coming around the corner, because the game has a lot of mystery in terms of the quests when you're exploring, but you'll never know when that faction comes around and how you're going to interact, if you're going to talk to them. Gray Zone Warfare also, I believe, really excels in the fun factor of it. Because it is a sandbox, you don't have to play it like a milsim. Although some people can define our game as a milsim. But now, seeing people play Gray Zone Warfare, they're starting to see too, like, hey, look, this isn't like an extraction shooter in the way you would define it. You're not leaving the map. Everything is in the world. So it's a living and persistent world. So if you want an experience where, especially as we go on, where things will change, if you're going back, even if you're going to a server you haven't been in, there's going to be other elements we add into the game to keep you coming back. And we'll talk more about that as we go.
Yeah.
This is a game, even if it's your first tactical experience, your FPS experience, it's a game where we would absolutely welcome you with arms wide open. And it's something that, yes, there is a lot of the realism factor. We have realistic ballistics in the game. We actually calculate the physical dynamics of the impact of what round you're using, what, the ammo you're wearing, even ricocheting, bouncing off, going through fences, depending on the ammunition you're using. Full Metal Jacket rounds might bounce off a metal fence, but like Hollow Point, armor piercing, they're going to go right through the fence.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that we take into consideration with the realistic ballistics in the game, the health system, and giving people a fighting chance. So I think there you go.
Excellent. All right. And now, I liked how you guys released those videos of some of the people that you've worked with or gotten, information from, like Dr. Sean McFate and Andre, the Spec Ops guys.
Yeah. Spicy,
yes. Yeah. How influential were those guys, their information into, building the game?
So Sean McFate helped us more with ideas of quests, more of like the kind of quests that we would put into the game. And, even with the name of Gray Zone Warfare, people used to ask, like, that name doesn't make any sense. But Gray Zone Warfare is actually very much a real thing. In fact, it's never been more prevalent than today.
Yeah.
Because Gray Zone Warfare doesn't just mean it's like an actual war with guns and shooting. It's, there's actually like Gray Zone Warfare is a lot of PMCs doing covert operations, or even digital, as a way of causing digital warfare.
Yeah.
Confusion. But as far as from PMCs, a lot of a job of a PMC is to go and collect things and bring it back to their bosses, so to speak. So you'll see missions like that in the game where you need to collect intel and things of the sort. So Gray Zone Warfare blurs the line between what you think is good or bad or war and um, but we're going to be adding more
Yeah.
into the concept of this. But the other thing is, Spicy actually did the animations,
Oh
right?
shoot.
Like he was one guy. So it's like the vaulting, reloading, whatever type of animations. They're not like assets that we just use or third party. They're all everything what we're doing is in house.
Yeah. Oh
So,
nice. That's really
yep.
cool. And then, when that trailer dropped, it was so impressive. It got so much buzz. It's you guys. What was your, I guess, take on the reception? Were you guys like, holy cow, we better deliver on this, or it's like, okay, we got some work to do.
So when it was funny. A lot of interesting conversations were going on at that time. I remember when I was just I actually went to, I think 2 or 3 weeks in, maybe 3 weeks in. Mara said, "Hey, why don't you get kind of like onboarded and fly to the studio? You can stay as long as you want." And I stayed for like 7, 8 days. And I remember them saying, "Yeah, we're probably not going to get too much attention. I mean, no one knows us." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm thinking, "Okay," but I think big. It's my job to think big.
Yeah.
Um, and think of how we can do this right. And then I was talking to the guy. He was an office manager at the time. Now he's full time community manager because we saw the potential in him. And you know, we wanted to keep this a secret, but we ended up saying, "Hey, look, we need to reach out to some creators. We wanted some of them to kind of see what was happening ahead of time." So thanks to Big Fry, Tacti Gamer, Controlled Pairs, and Karma, these guys helped kind of really get the word out when they made these videos. So a lot of thanks to them, and it was obviously incredibly well received. And everyone was speculating about what the game was going to be about,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
here we are.
yeah, and like so many people were like, it seemed like people were sort of not confused, but like, oh, they were trying to make it PvP, but the focus of the game is PvE with PvP sort of sprinkled into it.
Yeah, I still stand by that PvP, and I said it from the beginning, and I'll keep saying it. It's an important part of the game because of the unknown factor. And if you're just focusing on the quests, you probably won't run into PMCs as much. However, when you are purposely, like when you have the LZs discovered and you can get farther out there, you can start going to the places of interest, the
Yep.
POIs. And it's always fun when people want to run into each other at Bampa. Or like, the crazy parts like Tiger Bay. The point is, like, when you go to more of these points of interest, especially if you want to get, whether it's better gear or there's something you need to tackle, like you will find more players. And now we've improved some things. We still need to work on LZ camping and stuff, but we're happy about some of the changes we made. People were raiding bases like nothing in the preview test, and now you do not do that as much with the mortars and such. But the more we add in the game, it's still going to always have a PvE focus, but you're going to see more and more stuff to entice PvP.
Yeah, nice.
In the future.
And I like the option that you give players the option. If they want that PvP, they can go and get that full immersion. But for the players that may not want it or may not want to take that time, or they can go to the PvE mode and do quests and things like that. I think that's a huge thing to have in the game.
We didn't plan on that either, and that was a thing that we were like, there's really, there's a lot of demand for this. And the same way that we changed and we're still working on the balance of like how, being able to change your faction, because we don't want to make it easy to change your faction. There's going to be more and more reasons for that as we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely a journey with a community. We have a vision, so we're going to stick to our vision. That vision won't change.
Yeah.
But there will be a lot of things we tweak based on what people are saying and based on what they're already saying.
Yeah. Today, it's so important to have influencers, when you're a small gaming company, to, get them on board. How did you start that engagement with the creators? You had, you're talking about, Engage Karma Cut, Big Fry, and Tacti Gamer, and a couple others. Once you got them in, what was that next step to get the mass in? Was it like, they started reaching out to you, or did you sort of have to reach out to certain people?
Oh, I did the reaching out, a lot of that myself in the beginning. So a lot of it was just spending that extra time, seeing people who might be interested in the space. But I got to be honest too, when I really credit someone like Karma when I'm talking to him and asking him if he knows other people that might be interested in this game. And then he would just start sending creators my way. And then I would, Mara wanted to do a roundtable discussion. And I was like, that's a great idea. And I'm like, 25, 50 tactical players. He's like, no, probably like 100. So then we decided to really open it up. And then we invited like, hey, bring a friend. So the creators got to bring a friend. So then that's how it started spreading, because we wanted to bring people in. We showed, I don't know, maybe it was 2 or 3 weeks before the world got to see the first footage of the gameplay of the 23-minute trailer.
Yeah.
And so it was all organic outreach. It was creators spreading the word. And the reason why so many people have heard of our game is because of them.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I loved the sort of the nod you did to whoever you named the bridge after. I thought that was a really cool thing.
rhloe, yeah, we had already had that. Like so what happened is, not only was he the first one to die, the lead designer, Adam Hunderlich, he had already made something the next day, kind of thing. And then we added in the rhloe's bridge.
Nice.
We did something for Tacti. I'm sure you know him, Tacti
Yep.
Gamer,
Mm-hmm.
where we have this gray drink.
Yes.
In the game. And then Klean, because this guy, man, and during the first preview test, and I'm not talking about the last one, of course, the one that we had in March, and he just kept asking to wipe the server clean, because then we did things a little bit different in this test. And he would keep starting over and over and over until Nam Daven, where he could go into the town and clean it all out, and he sure did. And so we have a quest that talks about cleaning out the town by spelling his name.
Oh, nice.
So, and we have more little things we're gonna do.
Yeah, like, you know, I've had the pleasure of having Klean, Karma, Big Fry on, all fantastic guys. Really bring a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, those guys are great, and they give it to you straight.
Yep.
All of them, all the guys you just mentioned.
Yep.
And I get where they're coming from. There's some things that we're gonna change, and there's some that, they like some of the guys really want, and creators, they talk a lot about the PvP aspect. And like I said, there's more coming. I think and I don't want to just talk about all the stuff we're going to do, because we like to be more about showing and then telling.
Yep.
But it's been great to, like, when we brought in this small group of these guys, we knew that this might not be 100% the game for them, but they are going to give it straight. They're going to tell us what they think, and we've been able to make some tweaks based on what they're saying, and they shot it straight. We were not asking for cheerleaders.
Yeah.
We were asking for people who were going to be honest, and they were.
Yeah, and kudos to you guys for being so open and transparent with the feedback and responding like so quickly to, this is what we don't like, and then there was a response from you guys on that. I think that's really good, and it just helps with the development of the game and leaving the egos at the door.
Yeah, we try. I get hammered with messages every day, and the unfortunate part is, if they message me, they're probably not going to get a response if it's about bugs, because we have a place in Discord and our community managers. And it's like, so rather than, because there's no way we would get our job done, right? If we respond to government, you can't. So what we do is, they may not always know this, but we're taking what they're saying. They then compile a report, and that report goes to the QA and the designers.
Yeah.
And then we have another report, and then we put it into what we call like our TP, the process of things these bugs that get resolved. And we take the biggest problems that we have right now. It's the rubber banding, the servers, the crashes. Those are the most important things we're working on. Servers in South Africa, servers more in Sao Paulo, probably not saying it right, South America. Yeah. And the European servers have suffered a little bit too. So we see these things, we know these things, and then rather than just like responding to 1,000 people, we're taking these messages. And then just today, actually right before you and I jumped on, Michael compiled, quoting him, he said he spent about 7 hours finding all the things that we have fixes for now. Intel, there's problems with Intel, but there are, with the appropriate settings, you can get it working just fine for Intel. When it comes to FPS, GPU crashes, some of these things can already be fixed.
Yeah.
So he compiled this and put it together in one troubleshooting guide. We just got that out before we talked to you. So that's, we're trying to put, quote, our money where our mouth is.
Yeah. And like you said, you're not taking bug requests. You got to follow the process, because the process, if you don't, then you just get pulled everywhere, and, the focus doesn't get applied properly.
Yeah. And you know what, even if they don't know it, sometimes I'll screenshot what someone's saying. Hey guys, have you heard about this? Have you not? The community managers are the ones on the front line that do the reporting, because they need to, they're the ones that are communicating what's going on. I'm not trying to put all the pressure on them. I'm just telling you the process. Yeah. Me too. If I see stuff, I talk to the lead designer. We have direct communication with everybody on the team.
Yeah.
I'll talk to head of technical, like Johanny, and he's, responsible for the servers with his team, and also like, you know, some of the technical stuff we're working on, some bug fixes and whatnot. Like these guys, we get the message across to them, and we have to be efficient.
Yeah.
And the best way to do it is to have a system. So, you know, like I said, we get the word out there. Even Mara likes to chime in because we know there's more weight when you hear it from the boss himself. And then we're also working on patch 1. And you know, who knows if that's going to be available next week, the week after, but it's already starting to be tested.
Yeah. And now how would you describe the state of the game right now?
Well, the state of the game right now is this. When people are in and they're playing, they're enjoying it.
Yep.
We look at the Steam reviews and we see right now that when people are playing, even the negative reviews, they're enjoying it. The issue is that when you have problems with, like, you know, like the syncing DLSS, if you're having crashes, server issues, and, you know, I even remember when I was playing some of my favorite shooters, it's hard to have like a really, you know, perfect experience. You're not going to have that. But
Right.
Where we're at right now is we want to get out like the day and night cycle, implement weather dynamics. That's going to be incredible when it comes. But we have to we need to make sure that the optimization and stabilization is there. Optimization when it comes to performance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to have that. And stabilization because you need to be able to get into a game and stay in the game. Or also not just being stuck in the queue, the whole thing.
Right.
That's what that's what we're focusing and working on right now, is making sure that it's an enjoyable experience, and that we, you know, so even with our first update, we got to table that, not necessarily like for months out, but we need to make sure that people can play it, that they won't get disconnected from the server and lose all their stuff, lose their money. That's what we're working on right now.
All right. And now, you know, what does the end product look like in you know, when your guys are all done, signed off, what does that, you know, what is a gray zone experience going to be?
Oh, the only way you're going to know is when you get to play all these updates that come along. We are years away from version 1.0. We're probably 20 to 30% in the cycle of development.
Yeah.
So if it takes 3 years, 6, 7 years to stay in early access, that's what it's going to take. But there will be a version 1.0.
Yeah.
And then we'll hit consoles and all that. But the thing is, Gray Zone Warfare, the Lamang is going to evolve.
Yeah.
And you'll still have the core elements of the game, but we haven't said anything hardly about what is Ground Zero, right?
Yeah.
We haven't discussed too much about the camps or hideouts or more like AI factions walking around and more, you know, not being stationary. You know, and you can go right now on our Steam page and you can see some of the things we talked about that we definitely want to implement in the game, but it's going to take years.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's kind of too soon to say like what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because some of it will also be tailored a little bit to the balance and tweaks and for the sake of the community. You know.
Yeah, you know, the way I approach any video game that I buy is, you know, like you go to a movie, you spend $20, you go to a movie, it's 2 hours of entertainment. And that's sort of my rule for when I play a game. So like right now, there's easily, like you were saying, you know, 80 to 120 hours worth of content to just go through. Even just getting through that, you know, I'm well, you know, made my money back from the enjoyment I get out of a game. And I think some people get lost in that. They're like, oh, you know, after they've done it the second or third time, it's the bashing. They hate, you know, that hatred comes out, which I just don't understand that.
Well, you know what? From what I've seen over the years, and this goes for any game, they still, in general, when people do this, it's the root, like at least from our perspective, we say at least they're talking about the game, because we'd rather have people talking about our game and complaining about our game than no talk at all.
Yeah,
we would rather have people, you know, focus on or like say, hey, you need to fix this. You should see the DMs I get, like, hey, Rick, fix this now. I need this fixed now. This is an emergency, and I understand that it's frustrating. I really do, because it's not fun to play. But you know what? Not only just because of early access, but yeah, I can even be as bold to say for $34.99, you get your money's worth.
Right.
You absolutely get your money's worth in this game. We just, like I said, we are trying to improve upon the experience, and these guys have put in a lot of ours, and we will keep doing that. So we're not going anywhere.
No. Yeah. And, you know, the other thing I like in the last couple of weeks are the other gaming devs that have come out and sort of like, hey, way to go, like the Road to Vostok or Vostok, however I'm pronouncing that,
Yeah,
or Eric over at Beautiful.
Auntie,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Or the Beautiful Light guys, Eric, it's just like everybody's rooting for each other. And I think that's so nice to see. It's not like a cutthroat thing.
Eric and I have had a couple calls. He actually talked to our guy in charge of, like I said, servers and technical work behind the scenes, and he was even giving him tips. So we've always talked. We want to start having devs work more together, and these walls, it's great to come down.
Yeah.
Because heck, even if they're worried about release dates when games are coming out and stuff like that, talk to each other.
Right.
See how you can work and support one another. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how those guys are. They don't like the walls up.
Yeah.
And we're willing to freely talk to one another.
So you had that closed test with the other creators, Big Fry, Tacta, or Karma Cut and Tacti. When you open up for that next level, were you guys, you flipped the switch? Were you guys like nervous, excited, everything? Because like, oh boy, here we go. Get ready.
So, as you say that, I'm thinking about the conversations I had with people. Here's the truth. So I had my flight booked a month and a half in advance, and we had told people, for those who were at the roundtable discussion, they know, Marek said it, we already have a release date in mind, right?
Yeah.
Before that first roundtable discussion where he said that, we had a meeting where he actually said the release date for early access is April 25th. In our meeting, like that we have at like 7 a.m. Eastern time or 8 a.m. We call it the all hands meeting.
Yeah.
But so much was almost in the process of changing, because you get to a point where you have to get the game out there at some point, because if you don't, how are you going to keep the lights on?
Right.
How are you going to be able to take care of your employees, especially with all the time that's being put in? And we gave ourselves 5 extra days after the 25th, after people playing for a week. But I got to tell you, these guys work their butts off and all. But the truth is, we knew that this was going to be a very wild experiment. Most tests are done in 3 days. We did it for 7.
Yeah.
We told these guys at the beginning that we're going to do a play test, and it's going to be, we told them 7 days. That's why you saw some creators were saying they're playing early access, because even though we didn't say we're going into early access, we did tell them on a previous call that we were going to let them play 7 days before early access. So that had changed, and it's hard to, we work with hundreds of creators and in our VIP section. And so like, not everyone's going to be able to keep up to speed with changes, because we did have plenty. But I got to tell you, when we hit that go button to have a couple thousand people play, we thought this is going to make or break us.
Yeah.
Because if it falls apart, it falls apart. But we feel like we're as ready as we can be, and we have to get this game out there. And so, it's not like we thought, like, we're not ready, like we don't have the servers ready. No, these guys work day and night to make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's a long story short. So we knew that the fun factor would be there. We wanted to make sure we could at least get people playing, that the server stability was there, because you can't just like say, hey, and we got this request a lot, just open up to the public. Let everybody play the test. You can't. The servers are expensive. You can't just start throwing money around and doing that. You can't. It's very expensive. Plus, we needed to get it out to people who do this for a living.
Exactly.
Because they can play the game a lot more.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. I saw those tweets from people like, oh, open up there. You can't. You got to keep it like, I didn't even think about the whole fact with getting creators who it's their job. They got the 8 hours, 10 hours they can put into it. That's, that's a great piece of information to share with people. But there was no way, like this is a beta or it's an alpha. You can't open it worldwide. The cost of running the servers, it would only deter from the experience that you guys are trying to create over there.
Yeah, plus we needed to get ready because we knew we were soon going into early access. So while they're working on that, we can't just spend all the time fixing just preview test stuff. We had a different build that we're working on into early access, which obviously is not that much different, but by then we did have some updates and tweaks that we made.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons. And, we just were like, hey, look, rather than just keep talking about it, or even the little thing I just told you, it's not something you normally talk about, because we just want to keep making the game better.
Yeah.
We want to keep the content coming. So that's what we focus on with the community, and the community's been great. I just think a lot of the community heard about the game because of the creators,
Yeah.
and that means a lot. Those are things that, and I love it. I love it because now the focus is on working, with the community, and I love what the community managers are doing with the people playing the game, and it's but we don't have a lot of time, like I said, to celebrate, man.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, because like you had that, sort of that second open test with, where everybody, a lot more people, 1,000 people could get in, a couple thousand people could, be part of it. And then how, was there a lot of feedback or fixes that you got from that session that you had to rush, or the game was already in a good state that you guys didn't have to like, oh my God, we got to rewrite this or do that?
So these guys work fast. The first week of early access, we had 3 hot fixes in. So even in those 5 days, and keep in mind, we're still working on another build, so there was some differences. Yeah, we actually did make adjustments. That's why people are not able to get into the base and do the camping like they used to as easy at all.
Yeah.
It's why the LZ, at least you can, or with the little birds, you can at least shoot from the heli, and you can throw grenades and such, and you have 5 seconds of invulnerability. And ultimately, though, it wasn't too much different. Like I said, we took a lot of the preview test stuff, and we did what we could. We tried to help with some even other crashes that we had fixed by then, which was good. But yeah, that week, there was a good enough amount that if we didn't do anything in those 5 days, it would have been it would have suffered in even more of a worse state. So yeah, that was a big deal. That wasn't just about getting the word out for the game. That was because we needed to see what it was like when more people were playing it. We needed to get the servers full. We can hardly get our whole team together sometimes. So, like, we do a play test every week, sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 even. But our studio has like 70-ish people.
Right. Yep.
We need to get it out there.
Absolutely. And then, when it came out, I loved the responses. You guys were just quick with fixes and things like that, and just being, again, open and transparent. But people need to also realize, that all those negative reviews that were popping up were, people who didn't have the proper hardware to support it. And that's got to be, that's got to have an effect on you guys too, seeing all this. Like, you want to say, you want to really tell them what you want to tell them, but you really can't.
Well, it doesn't matter what game on the planet it is. I think if you review a game and you haven't even put at least 3, 4, 5 hours in, it's kind of hard to review a game.
Yeah.
But you know what? The way with Steam is people are free to review the game as they please. It's tough. Like even what happened to the Helldivers game.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right approach to review bomb a game like that,
right?
Because you don't know the people that are working behind the scenes
for
that game and the kind of game it is and how amazing that game is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we still have to check our egos out the door and have to say, look, there's still reasons why they did a negative review in general, and we are like, that's actually a big part of us, where when we have fixes, we will go back and address those things even to the people who left reviews, saying, hey, this has now been resolved. Like, for example, you can now change your faction. So hey, look, go back in and check it out. If you like how you can change your faction, then maybe you can reconsider the review. And it's okay to say that, but we need to have the fixes first. We can't just say it's going to get better. You kind of like, we'll tell people we're working on it, we're aware of the issue, but we do need to actually fix it. So
yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And now, any long-term plans to support mods or modding, down the road?
Down the road, I'm sure we want to come up with something like that.
Yeah.
We want to even have the possibility of like private servers and such, but that's probably, and which obviously goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
But that is definitely a ways out, because it's really hard to talk about these things or get these things in place when we have so much work to do now for making the game a better experience. But at the same time, yes, I mean that kind of like really adds to the longevity of a game.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure out how you want to balance it. How much do you want that to be out there?
Yeah.
Keeping the integrity of the game, but ultimately, more options the better.
Yeah. So now that the curtains are open, people are playing this. Are you guys going to be starting? Are you going to focus more hitting some shows or anything like that, or now let the dust settle? You guys just grind away, do updates and things like that.
Well, I mean, that's part of my thing is getting out there to see people. So I'm absolutely going to TwitchCon. I believe I'm going to TwitchCon EU.
Yeah.
And then Gamescom. Gamescom is going to be the one that is like a celebration for us, to be honest, because the money we put into we put it back into the company, and there's so many reasons for that.
Yeah.
The other is because or one other thing that's kind of like a treat is to be able to celebrate with the fans.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll get to do at Gamescom. That is going to be awesome because we get to meet the community in person. We get to talk to them live. We are absolutely looking forward to that. So yeah, I mean, I don't do any coding. So I want to go to the TwitchCon events. I want to meet the creators, thank them, hang out because they're a big part of this.
Yeah.
I want to meet the Italian and French creators out there that I've worked with, the Spanish, I want to talk to them all. And my good old pal, Mr. Gibbon, Irishman, I want to see them. So yeah, you better believe I'll be getting out there.
Excellent. Ed's a fantastic guy. Another person's been on the podcast. Yeah. Just a wonderful human being, man. He's so funny.
Yeah, he is great. He plays Gray Zone like I wish so many people would sometimes, because he's very much sandbox, DayZ player, yeah?
Right, exactly. So, and speaking of thanking people, is there anybody in particular, or some group of people you want to say particular thanks to?
Well, I mean, the particular group would absolutely be the people who are playing the game, like that. I mean, that seems like an obvious response, but I couldn't be any more thankful. I also have to give a big shout out to my wife.
Yes.
and kids, because I've always been about efficiency, and I've always tried to get done something that would take someone 8 hours. My goal is to do it in 3 or 4, and I applied that to so many jobs, because to me it's not about how much time you put in, it's about the results.
Yep.
But I will say this job, and it just is part of the nature of it, it can be very demanding, especially around release. So putting 80, 90, 100 hours in for a couple weeks or whatever it was, it doesn't matter. But and still working, and short days are very hard to come by. It's a very much all in thing. You have to be all in.
Yeah.
So we don't have all these other people doing work for us. We have to do the work ourselves. So I thankful to my wife and kids for being patient and, with me.
And now away from, Mad Fingers Games, what do you like to do if you're not involved with any of the gaming aspect, or what are some of the things you enjoy away from the computer?
Oh man. One of the things, and this helps with my sanity, is I have a really close friend, and we love to hop on calls. It doesn't happen as much. We used to do it every day. We do it about 3, 4, 5 times a week now. And we have a really good time of prayer and just hanging out and chilling, because you got to have your mind be quiet. You got to start off the day not always in a rush. And I have a friend that's, like you call him your accountability partner and your brother in arms.
Yep.
So I love that sort of communication with him. I love going outside with the kids, having little bonfires and feet on the grass, man. And then, we have a very simple life out here. We try anyways. I love coaching soccer, 2 of my kids, rec. So that's great.
Yeah.
And, other than that, man, I don't have too many crazy exciting things going on.
Well, you know what? You really don't have much extra time being a dad, being a husband, and working for a small, not really a small software company, but getting a game like Gray Zone out. It's, you've got a full plate.
Full plate.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you taking the time. Best of luck. And before I let you go, though, who in your circle you think would have a good story to should come on and share their journey?
Well, I mean, there's none other than Mara.
Yeah.
When he's available, he's always a great guy to talk to. He's a very straight shooter. And if there's anyone that can talk about stories about this, it would be him. Yeah.
All right.
So that would be probably your next target.
Excellent. All right. Well, hey, Rick, again, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time, and good luck.
Cheers, man. Thank you, sir.